Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to Vampire the Masquerade, Reckoning of New York. And in the last episode, guys, we made our call for information and talked to the lovely and charming Kaiser of the clan Nosferatu, who gave us this crazy plan to actually break into the Circulatory System's labs. So we are doing this. We've got everything set up as much as we can. We have the IDs. Let's see what happens. Every second near Kaiser makes me want to punch a wall, but still, his little cloak and dagger act might be what we need to break into the circulatory system. Paddy and I spend a solid 5 minutes just gazing up at the buildings we're about to infiltrate, our necks craned, completely silent. Color me psyched, I guess. That's one massive fucking building if I've ever seen one. Indeed. It might complicate our plans, as big as that is. It's probably packed with high-tech security and the usual batch of guards lurking around every corner. Yet there's also plenty of empty spots we could use to lay low. Look at you, picking up the tricks of the trade. Let's not just sit around. Time's running out. The interior of the circulatory system branch is artfully incognito, masquerading as a budget-friendly medical clinic. It's the perfect cover. Under the radar, ignored by the upper classes and the authorities, and with a constant, justifiable stream of visitors at all hours. Even the ungodly ones. Like right now, for instance. And here I am, ready to dive into the fray. Ready? Paddy nods, and right in front of my eyes, he undergoes a profound transformation. His whole demeanor morphs into something snooty, refined, and downright disdainful of everything. His usual slouch disappears, replaced by a straightened back, lifted chin, and squared shoulders. He could pass for some stuck-up young heir from a wealthy family if it weren't for his tacky shirt and flashy rings, tucked away in his pockets. Mr. Tiburon's very own stooge. He strides forward, oozing confidence and poise, while I fold myself into his shadow and become practically invisible. The moment we step into the foyer, all eyes are on us, or more accurately, on Paddy. A dashing young concierge with a plastered-on smile hurries over to greet us. Paddy makes a show of coldly refusing to reciprocate his warm and polite greetings, immediately asserting himself as a domineering and difficult client. In the meantime, I keep quiet behind his back, my face impassive and supremely bored. If I had gum, I'd be blowing bubbles like it's nobody's business. As planned, we get separated. Paddy leaves with the concierge to discuss business while I'm paired up with another employee, a young woman named Nima, who, at Paddy's firm request, is tasked with showing me around the labs, ASAP. She tries to smile at me, but my stony face wins out in the battle of expressions. Shall we go, ma'am? I simply shrug and nod in response, and we make our way toward the elevators. The moment we step into the labs, my persona flips. I make sure that my tour guide sees my eyes widen and the smile that almost splits my face in half. One look at her back in the foyer told me all I needed to know about this Nima and how to manipulate her. She clearly loves her job and takes an enormous amount of pride in it, and nothing would make her happier than sharing every single detail about it. All she needs is a willing ear. Well, here I am, both ears wide open. I bombard her with questions, and she happily obliges, growing more and more animated with each answer. But the more she talks, the more distracted she becomes. She shows me around many, for my purposes, useless rooms, and then I feel something small scuttle between my boots. I glance down. A mouse? Really? Is this the level of cleanliness we're dealing with here? This little bloodthirsty critter probably chews on blood bags for fun. About 15 minutes later, we enter a large laboratory on the other side, in which I spy oh no, I just realized that that's probably a spy, due to animalism. About 50 minutes later, we enter a large laboratory on the other side, in which I spy incomprehensible glass gadgets, several rows of coolers with blood, and a PC connected to the local intranet. Perfect. Silence of death. Awe a little bit of presence. I turned to Nemo with a dazzling smile, letting the warm tendrils of my charming persona extend toward her and wrap her in a warm embrace. She looks a touch puzzled for a moment before visibly melting. Her expression goes all mushy, eyes half-lidded, pupils blown wide against the brown backdrop of her irises. I step closer, lowering my voice to a seductive purr as I get right up in her blushing face. Your work here is fascinating, Nemo, but I bet you got some gems you haven't shown me yet. How about you fetch one of your favorite projects for me to check out? I'd love to sample the goods. Yes, ma'am. Right away, ma'am. Oh, our thread is in the red. No need to rush, darling. Take your time. She scurries off, stealing glances at me over her shoulder, and I make sure to keep my eyes trained on her until she disappears behind a wall. That's my cue. I get to the PC. It's password protected, of course. Hacking isn't exactly my forte, but I'm good at predicting mortal laziness. Password is on a post-it, stuck to a notebook on the desk. I access the PC and hastily make a copy of the database, glancing up from time to time while my free hand tries to get inside the computer case. I manage to extract the portable hard drive and slip it into my belt bag just seconds before Nemo returns. I have it here, ma'am. The project you requested? I smile at her, keeping my radiance firmly fixed onto her like a vice. Yes, of course. Thank you for humoring me. Yes, ma'am. She launches into a lengthy explanation of the device she brought, but I tune out most of it. Nodding and making the occasional ooh and ah is enough to keep her going, all while subtly guiding her toward the foyer. Foyer. I always have trouble pronouncing that, I apologize. Once we reach the exit, I blink in mock surprise and offer her a smile tinged with fake regret. Oh, it seems our little tour is over. Well, thank you for showing me around. She furrows her brow, clearly a bit confused about how we ended up here, but she smiles brightly nonetheless. It was my pleasure, ma'am. I wait for what feels like forever before Paddy sweeps into the foyer, followed closely by a concierge who's practically tripping over himself to keep up. He's drowning Paddy in apologies and desperate pleas for future meetings, his face going from flushed to pale as a ghost. Meanwhile, Paddy's pulling off the whole disappointed VIP act like a pro, effortlessly brushing off apologies and offers for better deals. It's the performance of a lifetime, or maybe several. I can barely hold back my laughter, especially when he heads for the door without a second glance, snapping his fingers at me to follow. I manage to keep up my obedient facade as we leave the circulatory system and hop into Paddy's car. It's unclear if they notice someone making off with their precious data, but the circulatory system doesn't immediately come after us, at least. Paddy's clearly geared up for a pursuit, the way he's maneuvering through the streets, pedal to the metal, eyes flicking around like a paranoid squirrel on the lookout for a tail. I say slow down. Not like I'm scared of a speeding ticket or anything, but you could ease up on the gas. No one's tailing us, as far as I can see. He looks genuinely let down by my shockingly sensible suggestion, to the point where I regret letting it out. Zooming through the streets is kind of a rush. Well, I'm thinking since our threat level is so high, and we don't want to bring any attention. He eases off the accelerator, blending into traffic as we head back toward Brooklyn. I'm guessing your part of the caper went smoothly? Smooth as silk. Had a bit of fun in the lab downstairs, but hey, got what I came for without breaking a sweat. Quite an adventurous night, I see. I toss my head back and laugh, catching his genuine smile out of the corner of my eye. You could say that. And you? Enjoyed going all snobby rich kid on that poor concierge? Or concierge? He shrugs, all casual-like. I have little sympathy for ventral ghouls. As far as I'm concerned, they signed up for this job and all of its perks. Ice cold, man. Impressive, too. Stick around me a little longer and I'll make a con artist out of you just yet. Who's to say I'm not one already? I can't help but burst into laughter again, straight from the depths of my shriveled heart, completely genuine. Full of bite. Time to dive into this ocean of data and pray our shark picks up the scent of something that'll make this whole heist worth it. Kaiser keeps us hanging at the meetup point like it's a personal joke. Clearly, his way of saying, "Fuck you." His massive limo finally rolls up and we're hurried inside by the same lanky guy as before. The door slams shut behind us with a resounding thud. Paddy and I barely get a moment to settle before Kaiser impatiently extends his hand, signaling for me to hand over the stolen hard drive. I'm tempted to give him a high five first, but I figure he might toss me out the window or something. He plugs the drive into one of his mini laptops and silently sifts through the data. A satisfied grin spreads across his grotesque face. Must have hit the jackpot with some serious dirt on the city's big shots. Maybe even beyond that. Suddenly, he lets out a long, sharp whistle, his hairless eyebrows shooting skyward. "They've got a shit ton on Castle." A shit ton, huh? My gut churns uneasily. "Lay it on me." "Are you sure you want to dig into this? Because from what I'm sitting, he's royally fucked." I swallow nervously, but there's no hesitation in my voice. "Yeah, hit me with it." "Oh, but with pleasure." He shows us a scan of a report from the FBI's Special Affairs Division. The file, apparently intercepted by an unnamed Circulatory System associate, is chock full of Reynard. Photos, videos, you name it. "And according to this rap sheet here..." He pulls up another file, the system's examination of conscience with Reynard's name. "He's balls deep in every kind of shady deal you can think of. Look at this. Selling rare blood, mortal trafficking, nothing new there. Breaching the Masquerade, yada yada. Corroborating with the SAD, like hell. Diablerie? No, that's horseshit." I can feel Paddy's gaze on me, but I refuse to meet it in fear that he might actually read something from my eyes. I'm no saint, okay? Most of that stuff kind of rings a bell. A mere, a week ago? I was the one pulling the strings behind the merchandise transfers through my dark web channels. Hold on one sec, guys. Okay. Not that I always knew what was being shuffled around. I'm not sure how much I would have cared even if I knew. I've dabbled in some truly nasty shit, both after and before my embrace. You see, it's him mixing in shady red market deals and being sloppy enough to get on the SAD's radar that's got Castle plastered all over the Circulatory System's dartboard. Is there anything else worth mentioning? Fuck yeah, there is. Arms trade. The fuck? That's actually news to me. Also, again, it's not unheard of, kindred dipping their toes in selling guns. And is that an issue? Gun running? Please. His whole fucking country stands on semi-automatic legs. The problem is whom he's trading with. But it doesn't even matter. No way that dumb fuck alone could, how did they put it, coordinate a weapon deal with a high-profile mortal. Dickhead. And he stops talking, the asshole. I count to 10 and ask, does it say who that mortal is? Kaiser shrugs dismissively, still looking through the pages. Nope. The rest is all redacted. Must be some important asshole, or a dangerous one, or they have no idea. And speaking of, they've got Castle mixed up with that fucking Hudson witch. She's right up there on the Circulatory System's hit list too. I guess cunts of a feather fucked together. Not much dirt on her though, nothing I don't already know at least. Vitae freezes in my veins. I exchange bleak glances with Paddy, remembering Sansaric's words. About Reynard getting even cockier and his new powerful patron, the self-appointed queen of the Hudson River. Maybe it's a good idea to wheedle some more information about her out of Kaiser. Ritra? I know that name. I heard about her a little bit. Paddy shoots me a warning look, which, frankly, I don't understand. Intel is power, my guy.
A little bit's as much as you can get. Nobody knows jack shit about her.
And you?
Me.
He barks out a laugh.
I've got all the dirt that worth knowing, which by my standards is barely anything. But it's clear she's involved in some nasty shit. There's whispers she's tangled with the Black Hand. Zero proof of that, though, and believe me, I'd know if there was any.
Paddy visibly twitches and gets busy spinning his ring. The Black Hand is the Sabbat. The Black Hand? You mean the Sabbat? Aren't they extinct on the East Coast? They were driven out of New York City 2 decades ago. It does not mean they're extinct.
Conroy, as always, seems to know too damn much, but yeah, bingo. Still, I don't buy that she's with them. Doesn't fit her style of playing the big game.
Care to elaborate on that? He sighs deeply, as if my questions cause him immense agony, but then starts talking almost immediately. Maybe he actually wants to talk, but can't, because he's got a reputation to uphold. Don't know, man. Is that a Nosferatu thing or something? D'Angelo's also chatty as hell.
About a year and a half back, Wretch just pops up in New York overnight, takes over the whole fucking Hudson and half of Staten Island, and then poof, vanishes off the grid.
What do you mean? I thought she's been keeping the city in check the whole time.
She has. She's been lying pretty fucking low for a kindred, annihilating anyone trying to parlay or step onto her turf. She's brutal. If Castle's really in cahoots with her and still keeps his head, fuck, that's no small feat. The bigwigs probably want him just for pulling that off. But don't get it twisted. Whatever shit they're spinning, it ain't really part of Castle's plan.
I furrow my brows. It's an angle I haven't even thought about, and by the look of sheer panic flashing over Paddy's face, neither is he.
Nobody knows what Wretch's game is, which is exactly why every fucker and their sire in this town wants her gone. Volatility is a bitch for keeping order here in the big fucking apple.
From what I've seen, that's pretty much the typical kindred push and pull in big cities. Seems to me like she's just another side of that same coin here, but with one non-negotiable rule. Paddy butts in, his voice firm and cold. Yeah. Don't fuck with Wretch. Kaiser just shrugs, visibly annoyed, indicating he's done with the conversation. His sharp eyes go back to looking through the SADS file on Reynard. Bait him, deploy subterfuge? I love deploying subterfuge. That is a Ravnos thing. I crane my head and not so subtly read over Kaiser's shoulder. The name Addison Payne is peppered throughout this section of the document. Addison Payne. Addison Payne. Hey, isn't he that old fart in the wheelchair from the Camarilla?
The one and only paraplegic blue blood cunt. This report makes certain conjectures about him.
Yeah? What kind of conjectures?
These ain't from the SAD file. They're straight from the Circulatory System, based on the shit they found in their records. There's been talk about Payne and where he really stands, all because he apparently was buying spiked blood from Castle.
Payne? Buying from Castle? Why would he do that? A venture of his position has no need to stoop so low.
Seems like about a month or so ago, some venture began pushing to cut off Payne's access to his circulatory system privileges. Crafty little shits, I'll give them that.
And what is that supposed to mean? Kaiser grins at him unpleasantly.
Can you really trust the man who uses someone else's voice to speak? Just let that sink in, Conroy.
What's that supposed to mean? Kaiser just ignores me, slams the laptop closed, and raps on the glass at the driver. The limo swerves hard to the right and comes to a full screeching halt. The door next to me pops open.
That's all I've got for you. Now, Take a hint and fuck off.
Hold up, I want a copy of that file. Kaiser stares at me like I've grown a second head, then bursts out laughing. It sounds like the croak of a dying frog.
Ain't you a fucking comedian? Now get the hell out, or I'll throw you out myself.
Were we still mortal after all the revelations of tonight, Paddy and I would probably hunker down in the dim corner of a bar, drinking our, well, mine mostly, sorrows away and unraveling the tangled skein of our findings. Since we can't stomach alcohol, we just wander around in silence for a while we settle on a tiny little bench hidden beneath a naked winter tree. There, well, I'd like to say that we talk, but it's more like a floodgate bursting within me, unleashing a tidal wave of pent-up frustrations. And Paddy just quietly lets me rant, slowly spinning his ring and nodding from time to time. The sheer number of times Reynard pops up in these sad files is pretty fucking concerning. Not only because of the actual shit he's pulled, but also because he's been so damn sloppy about it. They could have so much stuff on him. Stuff that could have easily been avoided if he just, I don't know, put a bit of thought into his actions and kept me in the loop maybe? Like, it's no coincidence that there's nothing specific about me in that file, you know? I clean up after myself thoroughly, I think. Regular people wouldn't find shit, and Reynard left so much fucking trail behind him, I'm surprised he's not in some kindred Guantanamo by now. They could have bagged him without breaking a sweat. Paddy gives a skeptical hum, leaning forward and examining his ring. And yet they haven't. Perhaps that speaks volumes about Josiah's ability to dodge bullets, even deep in hostile trenches. I snort inelegantly. Yeah, I guess. He's Ravnos after all. There's a few beats of silence before Paddy speaks up again. Any idea why Reynard might be dealing in arms with a mortal? I sigh deeply, feeling the air expand my lungs more than humanly possible, and shake my head. Honestly, Padre, I feel like I don't know shit anymore. I mean, Reynard was never particularly precious toward mortals, so I thought maybe we'd end up wrangling some eventually, but now I just don't know. Plus, arms dealing? That's so... I don't know, it's not our style, you know? We're Ravnos, we're tricksters, con artists, we're not warlords. I can't recall dealing with a single mortal since my embrace almost 2 years ago. If Reynard was peddling something, I'd expect it to be fake shit, decoys or whatever, but guns? It just doesn't make any sense. Paddy gives that deliberate cough of his, prelude to dropping some unsettling truth. I hate to be the bearer of harsh truths, but I get the feeling that you never truly knew Josiah. A couple of nights ago, I would have flipped out at that suggestion, but now? I collect a handful of gravel from the ground and toss it, bit by bit, into a puddle of melting snow. So many lies. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be surprised, should I? He's a scoundrel. We're all scoundrels. It's not like he taught me everything I know. I've always had a knack for trouble myself, but we spent a hell of a lot of time together. They say there's no honor among thieves, but damn, I thought there was some honesty at least. You know, I think you shouldn't be blaming yourself for his dishonesty. It's quite literally not your fault. Nobody can go through this ordeal expecting to be crossed at every given moment, especially by those we trust the most. That would be pretty miserable existence, don't you think? I'm not equipped to unpack all that right now, I'm sorry. Besides, I have no cash on me for that therapy session you're pushing for, Dr. Conroy. His smile is a little wry, but not hostile at all. You know, thinking about it, we've been hunting down my sire for 4 nights, and I realize I know jack shit about yours. You care to share a bit, in the spirit of this painfully awkward moment? He keeps quiet for a little while. Frankly, I can't tell you much about them because I don't know myself. What do you mean? I simply don't know who embraced me. He clears his throat and hesitates while I fight the urge to dig deeper. It's a faint memory now. I remember almost dying toward the end of World War II, somewhere along the Western Front, I think. And then I remember crawling out of a pile of corpses the next night. That's all. I assume I was embraced by a fellow soldier, but there's really no way to confirm. Padre, I'm so sorry. I pat him awkwardly on the shoulder and he nods, looking not at me, but at his lucky ring. I've come to terms with it, but I appreciate the sentiment. We sit in silence a bit longer. There aren't many people around, but the city still feels alive, bustling even at 3 a.m. in late December. The air between us is a little tense. Probably shouldn't have prodded about his sire, but, well, I'm me. I scramble for a new topic and remember we haven't finished discussing our latest scoop from the Circulatory System's database. So, what I can't wrap my head around is why someone like Payne, a big-shot Ventru, would go to such lengths to avoid buying blood through the company he partially owns. Is he, like, trying to back out, tank their stock on purpose, or what? Or maybe he's plotting to start his own gig. It's hard to see how, but with all the Ventru red tape, but maybe? Could he be setting up Reynard as his go-to supplier, or is that stretching it too much? Indeed, that does seem like a stretch. It's an audacious, almost disrespectful move, not really Payne's way of doing things, especially when he's trying to upserve Panhard. But why else would he do that? Well, the file did say he was buying spiked blood from Reynard. That's oddly specific. Maybe that particular type wasn't available through the circulatory system. I mean, all blood bags are spiked. That's the only way they stay edible. One of the reasons why the resident Duskborn alchemist had so much shit to do for all the time in our gang. Paddy hums thoughtfully, slowly spinning his ring. Well, I am stumped, but hopefully we can find a way to use that information to your advantage when we face the council. You mean like exposing Payne as a fraud right in front of everyone? Damn, Conroy, that's some serious badassery for you. It would be badassery if we had any evidence of these suspicions, which we unfortunately do not. I deflate a little, clicking my tongue. Yeah, I guess that's an obstacle. And how does Ritra fit into all of this? The ever-elusive mistress of the Hudson River. Think we could dangle her as bait before the council? Paddy stills and stiffens, spinning the dice ring as fast as his hands allow. Fuck, I forgot he's so irrationally terrified of her. I'm gasping at straws, I know, but everyone's freaked out by her. I'm not saying Reynard usually shies away from tough cases, but there's so many easier targets to scam. It's all so fucked up, I don't get any of it. I don't understand either. He so doesn't want to talk about her. Fine. I'll let him off the hook this time. The weight of tonight's events is starting to crush me, and maintaining this upbeat mask is draining anyway. Thankfully, this time it's Paddy who breaks the awkward silence. The night marks the last night in the grace period Kadir gave you. All our leads have dried up. It's unlikely we'd find anything else of use anyway. I think we have enough circumstantial proof to clear your name in the eyes of the council. We could trade it for your freedom. You mean for a longer leash? They won't clear me unless I hand over Reynard, and we both know it. Sure, we have some solid clues, but they're just that. The way the Camarilla treated me, well, I'm not exactly optimistic about returning empty-handed. Best case scenario, they order me to stay in the city and give me another impossible task. Worst case scenario, Kadir takes my head clean off my shoulders. And I don't even know where that leaves you. Technically, you were just supposed to keep an eye on me, but... I gesture vaguely and Paddy sighs, defeated. Yeah. He squints at the starless sky. There's still time until sunrise, but I doubt we'll find anyone at Elysium tonight. He gives me a careful once-over. Doubt and pity clear as he stares as stars in his eyes. Do you have a safe place to stay today? You're welcome at my haven if needed. The couch should still be there, I believe. I crack a faint smile. Should still be there, huh? Good thing you didn't get into sales, because you wouldn't sell shit. I have some options, I guess. I've only used a couple of our safe houses around New York so far. I don't know. Can I catch up with you later or something? I need some time to think, like, on my own. He looks at me for a long while, tilting his head hesitantly, while his spidery fingers slowly spin his dice ring. And then he just stops and nods curtly. Take your time. I'll wait for you until dawn. I chuckle disbelievingly, unable to keep just a little bit of bitterness creeping into my voice. Wait, what if I skip town or something, taking advantage of your misguided generosity? I don't think you will. You haven't this far, have you? He stands, looking down at me intently. I still believe we can turn this Titanic around before it crashes into the iceberg. We just need to get a hold of the steering wheel. He gives my shoulder a reassuring pat and strides off into the night, leaving me to my ruminations. Okay, well, we got a feeding opportunity, a detour, and some other stuff, so it's going to be very curious to see where this story goes. But I hope y'all have enjoyed it. If you liked the episode, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. I will see you next time. Later days, everyone.